While the 2020 NBA Draft gave us some big-name rookies in the form of its top 3 selections, Anthony Edwards, James Wiseman, and LaMelo Ball, the upcoming 2021 Draft is said to be on a whole nother level as it's seemingly loaded with a lot more franchise-altering talent. And according to NBA scouts, this upcoming draft class is so top-heavy to the point that some projected mid-first rounders from this batch could very well be surefire top 5 selections in any other year. And that is why it's definitely no surprise that teams like the Rockets, the Timberwolves, the Magic, the Thunder, or the Pistons, which at this point are the teams with the highest odds to win the lottery, are seen as being on the right track in terms of finding a player with franchise-altering potential this year if the draft odds really do end up in their favor. And so today, we're doing a quick breakdown of Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, Jalen Suggs, and Jalen Green, who were the consensus top 4 picks during this year's draft, who each of them I think all have the potential to go number 1 depending on the situation and depending on the team that ultimately wins the lottery. So what's good guys, it's Rero Balls here, and before we move on, please make sure to hit that like button if you enjoy content like this and if you happen to enjoy this video. It only takes a second of your time, but it definitely helps the channel a lot and it would be much appreciated. So let's get to it. Well, at this point, it's no secret anymore. Cade Cunningham is definitely the guy that most, if not all scouting reports are pointing to as the best player in this year's draft. Well, we're not talking about who has the most potential among all these prospects, but who currently is the best player in this class. I mean, someone who can immediately make a winning impact for the team that takes him. And if that alone is the criteria for selecting the top overall pick, then I definitely have to say that Cade Cunningham is totally the guy who should go number 1, no question. While Cunningham is a 6'8" point guard who has the body of a typical modern-day NBA wing player who can basically do it all on the court. He can shoot, score on all 3 levels, pass, rebound, and defend out there, and if you watch him play, you'd see that he already looks like a seasoned pro while still playing for Oklahoma State at the college level. This guy basically has all the skills and all the intangibles that you want to see from someone who's expected to run an NBA type of offense in the future. For sure, his numbers in college aren't that flashy or anything. He averaged 20 points, 6 rebounds, 3.5 assists. He only shot almost 44% from the field, but he did shoot an excellent 40% from deep. But I think his impact on the game is definitely seen far beyond the numbers. Well, first, what really stands out to me with Cade's game is his playmaking. Whenever he's out there running the offense, it looks like he's just way ahead of everyone in terms of getting to his spots, and you can see that he can dictate his team's offensive tempo with almost like the poise of a veteran point guard. I mean, he's a really crafty playmaker. He can throw any kind of pass imaginable on the court, whether it be a cross-court pass, a wraparound pass to cutting teammates, or off the dribble dimes. And most importantly, it looks like he has already mastered initiating offense in the pick and roll, which is arguably the most commonly used play in the NBA today. And so I think he already projects to be a high-level NBA-ready playmaker as of this moment. Well, there are still questions about him turning the ball over more often than needed, as he still averaged a little bit more turnovers than assists. 4 turnovers as compared to 3.5 dimes per game doesn't really look promising for a point guard. But I think a lot of it has got to do with this Oklahoma State team's lack of outside shooting throughout the course of the season, which in turn allowed the defense to focus on him whenever he did try to create something with the ball in his hands from the point of attack. But I think his turnover problems can be easily addressed at the next level, where he'll get more space to operate as a playmaker in a more sophisticated NBA team system, which puts more premium on outside shooters. And more than that, Cade is also a 3-level scorer. Although he isn't the greatest athlete out there, he knows how to break down defenders using his size rather than speed, which kind of play has proven to be quite effective in today's NBA, as evidenced by how not so athletic and oversized point guards like Luka Doncic or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander have been thriving as scorers. Cade's elite footwork allows him to get to the rim and score on the paint with ease, but is also a solid perimeter player, as he shot 40% from deep on more than 5 attempts per game. I think his best perimeter weapon is his solid jumper, which he usually shoots over smaller defenders, which is mastered quite easily because, well, he's a 6'8" point guard who'll have height advantage against other guards most of the time. And I think Cade's defense is also one of the most overlooked parts of his game. I mean, he plays elite defense both on and off the ball. He's just active staying in passing lanes and trying to get a piece of any shot that he can get. And also, everything is just easier for him on that end because of his 7-foot wingspan. Overall, Cade Cunningham is just a young player who's really special in a lot of areas, but also someone who doesn't have one single hole in his game. And that, along with the maturity he has displayed on the court all season long, I think makes him the clear-cut best player from this draft. But if there's anyone else who has the most franchise-altering potential other than Cade from this draft class, I think it's gotta be Evan Mobley. Mobley is a versatile 7-footer who looks like he has a clear path to becoming a really elite defender and a go-to scorer in the NBA moving forward. Well, I think his potential is just really scary. I mean, he's just able to do a lot of things on the floor which aren't necessarily supposed to be done by players his size and age. I mean, on offense, he can dribble his way from the 3-point line to the rim with ease because of his excellent ball handling for a legit 7-footer. And once he's near the basket, he's just difficult to stop because he's already a steady finisher and he has a 7'5" wingspan as well. And his 17 points per game average and 63% true shooting rate actually backs it up. Plus, Mobley has also shown flashes of perimeter scoring. While he's not yet that good of an outside threat as he only shot 31% from 3 at USC, but his form suggests that he can be a more consistent stretch big man who'd be a perfect fit in a pick and roll and pick and pop heavy game of the NBA in the long run. Well, at this point, he still isn't someone who projects to be a big man who can bully his way into the rim because of his underdeveloped frame, but he'll definitely bulk up and get stronger in the future as has been the case with most big men. But overall, his offensive arsenal is just really loaded. I mean, he can pop for jump shots, he can create his shots off the dribble, he can attack the rim, and he can catch lobs. So basically, I think what really makes him special is that he can just pretty much do everything that bigger wings and small ball big men in the NBA can do, except that he's 7 feet tall, which just works out for his advantage. And on defense, I think is already the complete package. He averages 3 blocks per game, so obviously he knows how to protect the rim, and he usually does that without fouling as well. He only averaged 1.8 fouls per game, which is a really good sign for a young defender. And I think what sets him apart from other star big men from recent drafts like DeAndre Ayton and James Wiseman is that, unlike those guys, he'll enter the NBA already capable of switching on smaller guards in the perimeter. Watching Mobley, you'll see that he's just able to slide his feet pretty well for a big man, enabling him to stay with smaller players and block tons of jumpers as well, which is really impressive, and I think that's one reason why he's already projected to be an elite defender at the NBA level in the future. While on the other hand, he only averaged 1.5 assists during the college season, but I think a lot of it has got to do with the lack of shooting around him at USC. But watching him, you'll see that he knows how to read the floor at all times and that he knows how to find open teammates. He already has a sound feel for the game and he makes sound decisions with the ball in his hands as well. And I honestly think that he has the Anthony Davis kind of potential as a two-way player just by looking at how he can score in a lot of ways, defend almost anyone in the court. Basically just his overall makeup as a player screams superstar in the making. And that's why I think aside from Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley definitely has the most franchise-altering potential among all guys from this draft class. But if we're talking about someone who's the best athlete and the best overall scorer from this draft, I think it's definitely gotta be Jalen Green. Well, there's a reason this guy was ranked as the #1 prospect from his recruiting class coming out of high school. Green has got elite bounce and video game-like athleticism to go with his 6'5" frame. He's also got a fluid handle and a good crossover package which allows him to either drive to the rim or hit a step-back jumper whenever he wants to. Overall, he's just probably the best player from this draft in terms of manufacturing shots for himself on any area of the basketball court, and that's definitely the biggest part of his game right now. And even with his current skill set, I think he'll already be a handful for a lot of defenders in the NBA. Well, the thing is, coming out of high school, despite being a freak athlete, he was seen as an inconsistent outside shooter as suggested by his numbers. But while playing for the GLeague Ignite team during the recently concluded G-League bubble, his shooting noticeably got more consistent as he shot a decent 36.5% from 3 while averaging almost 18 points per game, killing defenses in a competitive G-League environment in the process. And further, Green has been making strides defensively as well after being called a one-dimensional player in the past. He averaged 1.5 steals per game for the Ignite team while also being disruptive in the passing lanes, having better awareness of defensive rotations, and being more disciplined when defending closeouts. While overall, he still needs to fill out his wiry frame to be able to keep up with stronger players at the NBA level, but as it is, he has a 6'8" wingspan to go with his already quick feet, which is why it's not hard to believe that he's going to be at least a decent perimeter and team defender at the NBA level. Well, I think at this point, his off-the-hook athletic ability and scoring potential alone would make him a sure top 3 pick. But I think for him to be a much more impactful player in an NBA offense moving forward, he needs to be able to learn how to play off the ball a little bit more and be able to impact the game even without the ball in his hands. But still, Jalen Green is a young player who's already equipped with a scary scoring package and who's got elite physical tools. And as his developmental trajectory has suggested so far, he'll just keep getting better in the long run, which will make it hard for teams to pass on someone like him come draft night. And lastly, their 6'4" combo guard Jalen Suggs is probably one of the most NBA-ready prospects out of this year's draft. Honestly, there's a lot more that can be said about him other than being able to hit that game-winning buzzer beater against UCLA in the national semifinal game. Suggs is a hyper-athletic, high IQ, and high motor type of player who can be a problem on both ends of the floor, and I think is also probably one of the most physical young guards I've seen in recent years. I mean, on offense, this guy isn't afraid to absorb contact of any sort, as he's just a really confident type of scorer who knows how to pressure defenders on his way to the rim. While usually the thing with overly athletic guards like him is that they usually end up relying too much on their physical tools to the point that they sometimes get out of control. But I think that's not the case with Jalen Suggs. He knows how to give up the ball to teammates when defenses collapse on him, he just makes the right reads as a playmaker most of the time too, and he also doesn't take a lot of bad shots. Well, proof of that is he shot almost 60% from 2-point range on almost 7 attempts per game in college, and he also registered an excellent 1.6 to 1 assist to turnover ratio. I think he also won't have a lot of problems transitioning as a playmaker in today's NBA that loves to run pick and rolls, because during his time in Gonzaga, he used 29% of all his offensive possessions as a pick and roll ball handler, and he actually thrived in it. In fact, he ranked in the 78th percentile of all pick and roll scorers during the college season, and the thing is, he plays really good defense as well, whether it be on or off the ball, while using his strength and quickness. I mean, he's shown that he can rip the ball off opposing players' hands, and he can also disrupt passing lanes because of his elite anticipation. Well, at this point, I think his NBA ceiling would depend on how he could potentially evolve as a more reliable outside shooter moving forward. He only shot 33% for the entire college season, but still, I think his shooting fluidity suggests that he has the potential to improve in the long run. While overall, out of all the projected top 4 picks, Suggs might be the one who's least projected to be a superstar type of player for a winning NBA team, simply because Cunningham, Mobley, and Green are viewed to have higher ceilings. But still, only time will tell how good he can be, and overall, Jalen Suggs is someone who'll come into the league ready to contribute on both ends of the floor at a high level, and a lot of teams will definitely be happy to take a chance on him. While in the end, the NBA draft will still always be a game of hit or miss, but there's a reason why the 2021 draft is said to be one of the strongest draft classes in recent years. These 4 players are proof of that, and definitely landing one of them will be a really huge win for any lottery team out there. So who do you think will go down as the top selection in this year's draft? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below, and if you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing as well. Again, this is Rero Balls, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.